This video is presented by Western and Southern Financial Group, a game plan for your financial future. Every great team starts with a strong foundation, and your future should too. With life insurance built like a championship roster, Western and Southern helps protect what matters most so you can focus on winning today while planning for tomorrow. Whether you're just starting out your journey, building your dynasty, or ready to retire like a champion, Western and Southern has the right play for your life stage. Visit westernsouthern.com to get your free life insurance quote today. Western and Southern, built to win. All right, Niners and the Seahawks, part 3 here this season. Love when we get a part 3 here in the postseason. Seattle and San Francisco matched up not too long ago, and by that I mean 2 weeks ago. They had a battle for the 1 seed, a battle for the division in Week 18, and Seattle really was able to clamp down on this Niners offense, winning that, getting the bye week, but here they are meeting again. Dalton, let's start with the 49ers. Let's talk about their run game here. How can they get that going, knowing all the injuries that they've had? Now, what George Kittle meant to that run game, he's no longer a part of it. Is that something they can continue to lean on here against Seattle? Because, man, it's tough to do anything against this Seattle defense.
They have to lean on it somehow, and they've tried to lean on it in the first 2 games against this team, and they just really haven't been able to get anywhere. When you look at 43 design carries across the 2 games against Seattle for the 49ers, just 3.1 yards per carry, just 5 missed tackles forced, and 1 explosive run that came about a 14, 15-yard run back in week 1. I think, to me, the biggest thing is Seattle's defense. They're so fast. And San Francisco with their outside zone schemes, they want to get to the corner as much as possible, right? Establish that they can get to the edge and then cut it back and let McCaffrey figure things out from there later in the game. But the Seahawks are forcing those cutbacks early in the game. They're making San Francisco go into the teeth of their defense right in the middle of it. And the other thing I think is impressive too is they're really kind of forcing San Francisco to run the ball on first down because they defend so well out of too high safety looks. That's a big advantage that Seattle has, especially with a guy like Nicky Manwari floating in the box kind of as their pseudo third linebacker. They can leave 2 safeties back so San Fran doesn't have free access to play action on first down, force them to hand the football off, and then they're just beating them to the edges and forcing them to cut back into the middle of the field. I think this is a huge problem for San Francisco. They really haven't been that efficient running the football all year. McCaffrey's under 4 yards per carry for the season, but especially against this team, they need to find a way to get creative to either get the ball to the outside or run more power schemes to really attack downhill, because if they just line up early in the game and try to run outside zone, even around Trent Williams, and try to turn the corner like they do on everybody else, it's not going to work. It's already not been working for 2 games. I really like Seattle's structure in their defense with the 2 high looks on early downs, and I love the speed that they play with to pursue to the ball.
Yeah, I mean, it's you said this on Monday that probably your bet would be either Seattle or Houston for the best defense in the NFL. No disrespect to the Denver Broncos. I think they're in that conversation as well. But just Seattle is playing at just such an insanely high level on the defensive side of things. And so it's hard to really do anything. Normally when we do these matchups, we go, okay, well, let's look at where this defense might be weak. Where can you attack this defense? I don't really know. They're such a great defensive team. And when you go back to Week 18, that was a game that everything was on the line for the Niners. They really wanted to obviously win that game to win the division and get an extra week off and have the NFC run through San Francisco all the way up to the Super Bowl, where if they made it, they'd be hosting the Super Bowl there, just like the Miami Hurricanes are doing so with the national championship right now. But when you look at the San Francisco 49ers, if you just look at the last 5-game sample size that I have, so including last week in the wild card and then the previous month before the regular season ended, those final 4 games. If you look at all that and you specifically hone in on their matchup against Seattle in Week 18, Brock Purdy is a quarterback who likes to pass deep down the field, right? Intermediate passes, even deep passes. He isn't the strongest arm in the world, but he's got that gunslinger's mentality. He wants to push the ball deep down the field. He wants to make the big plays. In Week 18, Purdy had an average depth of target of just 4.0, by far the lowest of any of those last 5 games that he has played in. When you look at the percentage of times that he threw short of the sticks, that was actually the amount of time, the percentage that I have here is the amount of times they threw past the sticks in that game, which is the first down marker, of course. 18.5, which again, by far, not even close, the lowest percentage that he had of throwing short of the sticks or beyond the sticks in that 5-game sample size. It was about 53% in all of the other games, right around, I think it was like 53.5% of the time he's throwing beyond the first down marker. And against Seattle specifically, he wasn't doing that at all. And the reason why is because Seattle has so much faith in their front four that they can have more players in coverage. And with the team speed that they have, they're covering so much ground. They're able to, much like we talked about with Buffalo, have one look pre-snap and then a different look post-snap because their guys are so fast and they can rotate so quickly and get in those throwing windows and those coverage zones. And when you look at just DeMarcus Lawrence and Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy and Boye Mafe and Uchenna Nwosu, the Seattle Seahawks only brought more than 4 pass rushers 28% of the time against San Francisco. That was their whole game plan. And in fact, they only brought more than 5 rushers one time all game. They just didn't do it. They said, we're completely comfortable with rushing with our 4 guys, knowing that Brock Purdy will hold on to the ball a little bit longer because he's always looking a little bit further deep downfield. And they basically said, go ahead, throw it. We trust our team speed and our defense. And basically the only thing that was available for Purdy all game long was that underneath stuff. And that's just not where San Francisco and Brock Purdy are at their best. So to me, I think that Seattle's defense does have a little bit of the kryptonite for how good Brock Purdy can look against certain defenses in certain weeks. I mean, he's got elite passing grades and all of that. But the way that Seattle has the ability to play with only rushing 4 and then having the team speed that they do, you mentioned with like 2 high shells and being able to cover deep and basically saying, yeah, throw it underneath. We'll rally to the football. We're comfortable with it. It just does not add up to a lot of explosives in the way that San Francisco wants to play in their passing game. So I think that once again we will see that, and I think it might just be a matter of Purdy's got to put it in harm's way a little bit more. He's just got to be a little bit more willing to push it downfield because I just don't think that they have enough if they're not going to do that a little bit more. What about on the Seahawks side of things, though? Their passing attack, their offense, what are you expecting to see from them?
So I think the big thing to know about San Francisco's defense going into this, even though a lot of the metrics and even some of the grading says they're not very good on defense, the one thing they do well is prevent explosive plays. And against Seattle, they've really done that well in the passing game. Sam Darnold's been one of the best deep passers in the league this year, but against San Francisco, he's completed just 1 deep pass back in week 1, and on only 4 attempts. They're not even allowing him to take those deep shots downfield, and they're forcing Sam Darnold to manufacture offense kind of in the same way you just mentioned Seattle's been doing to Brock Purdy, right? Let's keep it in front of us. Robert Saleh runs a lot of zone coverage, a lot of cover 3, a lot of cover 4, and I noticed in this last week 18 game against Seattle, their safeties are super deep, right? They just don't want anything getting behind them. They know Clint Kubiak wants to take those big play action shots. So what Sam Darnold needs to do is work those zone coverages, especially over the middle of the field. He's been a top 10 passer in the league between the numbers this season. Okay, where do I have it here? 9th in the league in passing grade between the numbers and 10th in yards per attempt. You look at the 49ers and the way they want to operate, and this is kind of by design, but they're only 19th in explosive pass rate allowed between the numbers and 23rd in coverage grade, right? So that space that they're giving you in those intermediate areas of the field, you have to be willing to dissect these zone coverages and take what they give you 10 to 12 yards at a time. The stretches of these games where Darnold has done that, he's looked really good, and he just has to continue to be decisive. But the deep shots in all likelihood are not just going to be given to them unless they're really dominating in the run game and they can create them through play action. Robert Saleh knows to keep his team in this game, they have to prevent those big, deep passes to Jackson Smith and Jigba, to Rashid Shaheed, to A.J. Barner downfield. As long as you rein in the deep ball like they've done the first 2 games, you can keep this within reason, and it's exactly why they've only given up 13 points in each of the first 2 games to Seattle. You have to prevent the home runs, make Sam Darnold hit singles consistently. If he does it and he beats you, then so be it, but don't give him a free one down the field.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned if they run the ball really well and they could set things up with play action. Well, if you go back to week 18, they were able to run the ball very well. And I remember when we were doing our preview of that game, you and I both said the same thing. If you're Seattle, just run the ball. on the second half of the season, the Niners have been the worst run defense team in the NFL. And we said just run the ball. And that's exactly what Clint Kubiak and the Seattle Seahawks did. In Week 18, Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker both had rushing grades above 70. They had 171 rushing yards combined. And Dalton, they had 50 rushing yards before contact in the game. That's just always going to be a recipe for success, to be very efficient on the ground. 83.1 team rushing grade on outside zone plays, so forcing the San Francisco 49ers defensive backs and specifically those hurt linebackers, those I would say depth linebackers who now have to be starters for them, to be able to keep their shoulders square and chase and get to the outside and still be reliable when they've got to take on offensive linemen. And remember, that Week 18 game, that was the elite run blocking grade that we had from Gray Zabel. And I went back and I watched that film, and man, it's more than just Gray Zabel. I felt like the Seattle Seahawks were able to get to the second level specifically very quick, very cleanly. They were able to line up those linebackers right in between the shoulder pads, and they were able to make impact blocks at the second level. That's how you get 50 yards before contact and such a high rushing grade on those zone rushing concepts. It's you getting clean to the second level and then lining those linebackers up. And so, is it going to be as good of a day on the ground for Seattle? Probably not as good of a day, because I think that the 49ers are going to adjust, but I think it's still going to be an issue for how Seattle basically just said, okay, we're going to run the ball in this manner. I think San Francisco kind of knew it was coming, and they just weren't able to defend it super well. So given the fact that I think the defense is set up to be a little bit of a kryptonite for what the 49ers want to do, and just because of how easy it was for them to run the football just 2 weeks ago, I am taking the Seattle Seahawks. I'm taking the Seattle Seahawks 31-20 as a final score. If Brock Purdy cannot make those explosive passes down the field, which he was not able to do at all in Week 18, I think this could be a little bit of a runaway here for the Seahawks.
I like Seattle as well. I don't love it as a runaway. I don't know that I love that -7 that they're getting on that betting line. I just think Kyle Shanahan at this point, no matter how much adversity this team goes through, they know how to keep themselves in games and at least give them a chance, right? And even for as much as they got physically dominated in Week 18, they still only lost 13-3, right? I mean, which feels like a miracle considering how it looked like the game went, but they know how to prevent those deep passes. I think they're going to keep themselves in the game, but at the end of the day, their defensive line is a real problem. If Seattle does have that balance and they can run the football again, I really like their chances to win this game. And to me, I think the George Kittle injury is the last straw. He's so important. I mean, they have other blocking tight ends, sure, but he's so important to them as a receiver. And when you have, when you're going against this Seattle team, this defense that's so stacked with so many great coverage players, you got to have guys who can just beat anybody. I don't know that the 49ers have that guy right now. Obviously, they haven't had Brandon Ayuk all year. Now they don't have George Kittle. Christian McCaffrey is one of those guys out of the backfield, but who else is it going to be that steps up? Now against Philadelphia, it was Demarcus Robinson. Can somebody like that, like Robinson or Ricky Pearsall, Jawan Jennings, can they have the 100-yard game needed to really succeed in this game? I don't know that that's going to happen. I think Kittle's injury is the last straw, but give me Seattle 21-17.
Everyone's got takes. Numbers have truth. And the truth is, most people are betting with emotion. Sportsbooks feed on it. TikTok gurus sell it. The hype machine runs on it. That's how you lose. PFF is different. You're betting with winning data. The same data trusted by all 32 NFL teams and the sharpest minds in the game. PFF betting tools take every prop, every matchup, every angle, and run them through our custom models. Built on the best football data in the world. What comes back is your edge. Simple, sharp, and built to win. Want to go deeper? PFF puts a pro-level analytics department in your hands, giving you the same insights teams use to find every advantage. Build your game plan with matchup analysis. Project every snap, every matchup, and every edge before kickoff. Because the smartest plays start long before Sunday. Hit rates show how a player performs against their prop and against defenses built the same way. It's the data that gives you real confidence in every pick. Next, Key Insights translates PFF data into the story behind every matchup, giving you the why that powers your bets. From coverage schemes to defensive looks, it's the context that turns raw numbers into winning decisions. When you're ready to take action, Filter through every prop on the market and focus on the opportunities that matter, by game, matchup, or value. Then, shop for the best available line in your area and tap your book of choice to place the bet instantly. Everyone's got takes, but now you've got truth. Bet with data, win with PFF.